When you are.
Okay, Jennie Gorman, we are live. The red button is rolling. How are you today, Jennie?
I'm great, thanks, Jan. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak with you today.
Oh, much appreciated. I mean, I met you about 5 years ago, Jennie, and I've met and done some things with you. I've done some of your courses. I did a bit of masterminding with you. That sort of sent me on a different catapult, but I learned a lot from you, Jennie, and that is one thing that I really will respect you is you have an ability to share content with people that actually gives them the incentive to want to do more. And Jennie Gorman, I know that's all from personal development, which is something I know you love. So, in a few short words, could you share your journey of life around personal development, say from where you started to where you are today, and just give us a succinct overview, and we will then move on to some more pertinent questions. Thank you, Jennie.
Okay, thanks, Jan. Oh gosh, I've been doing personal development since I was born. I was very blessed. And I've only just realized that there's a quote that came to mind with me a couple of weeks ago, and it woke me up in the morning. It was Sunday a fortnight ago, and it woke me, and I had to pick up pencil and paper and start writing. And the things were coming so fast, I thought, I've got to get down to my computer. And that's how I tend to write. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was, the message was that it takes a village to grow a child. And I reflected that I grew up in a village or in a community. And when I say that, as a child, I grew up with my grandparents around me and my aunt. And we had a very, very big house that was probably equal to probably a whole block. The house was an acre in size. And then it had 3 acres of garden, which meant there was a community there. I lived there with my mother and my elder brother initially, and then another brother and sister, but lived there. And my grandparents and aunt were there. And then we had a lot of staff. So I had from the cook to the overseers, to the jackaroos, because I was born in the country, through to the gardener, the people, the rouseabout, the people who did all the jobs around. And everywhere I went, there was somewhere to talk. Now, as a little girl, my father used to say that I was a very happy little kid. I was always dancing, always singing, always laughing. And I just loved life. And everywhere I turned, there was someone to talk to. So I was brought up with people from all walks of life. So it didn't matter if I went into the garden, there was a gardener there to chat to. I probably drove them all crazy as a little kid because I was this little, that just was like, as my mother said, I was like a little Jennie Wren bird. I just hopped around everywhere. And
beautiful description.
She always said, you know, you're the Jennie Wren little bird who was always dancing, laughing, and I drove my mother crazy because my mother was quiet. She was a very gentle woman in her own way. And I didn't fit into a box. I was noisy. My siblings weren't, but I was noisy. I made a lot of noise. I laughed a lot. I was always talking. So when I would be my grandparents there or my aunt there, it would be the cook. I'd go into the kitchen and chat with her or go out the back and talk to the people out there. So I was continually had someone. It was like a community because everywhere I went, there was somebody who would talk to me. And I realize now that in life, because my whole aim is about supporting people to be the best they can be. It's all about helping people grow and reach the dream that they want. And I realized that started when I was very early. I never heard raised voices. I was never hit. My parents were married for nearly 67 years. I never heard an argument. But at the age of 8, I was sent to boarding school. So I had the first 8 years in this really enveloped, wonderful, wonderful, loved environment. And then I went off to boarding school. And I had to learn independence, courage, resilience, responsibility, reliability, all those things that, because I was on my own.
Yep.
So my learning journey really started when I went to boarding school at 8, because I've been so privileged prior to that.
Mm, mm.
So and therefore I'm a great reflector. So every day for me, I reflect on my day. I wake up in the morning, what's the day going to come? What's my job for the day? And my job is always working for whatever you kind of call it, spirit, source, the globe. I don't care what anyone wants to call it, the universe, anything. My job is to work to be the best I can be. And I have to have experiences in life that can give me the ability to learn, because I'm a kinesthetic visual learner. I have to physically learn, and I learn through pain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to go through emotional things because I'm quite an emotional being. I have to experience it emotionally and get really hurt to learn. So in my life, my learning has come as a result of me having to learn something that's really hurt me.
Yeah.
And then I get it, and then I learn to understand it, and then sit back and reflect on it. So I had the good grounding, and I was very blessed, because not a lot of people had the sort of grounding I had.
Mm-hmm.
I had really good, solid country people behind me who were salt of the earth people.
Yeah.
So I was blessed.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I haven't had as many horrific things happen in my life that everybody else has had, because I've had to go there. But it's been my mindset, and it's been the way I view the world, because I'm naturally optimistic. I know everything's always going to be okay.
Oh.
So it doesn't matter what happens, how horrendous something is. I know it's for a purpose.
Yep. It's a good point. Good point.
So everything that happens that really hurts me, I think, okay, what's the reason for this? What am I meant to be learning? What am I meant to be getting? I don't want to do it again. I do go on and do them again at times.
It's a deeper learning than you thought.
I'm very human. And yes, I'm one of those people who gives people the opportunity to grow also, and I give people the out. As one of my co-facilitators always said, you're always so kind to people. You give people an out, and this is in masterminding. This is a couple of years ago. And I said, yes, because I don't like to be trapped.
Good point.
And so I won't do that to somebody else. So I will always give somebody the opportunity to get out as easily as they can for who they are.
Yep.
But I think this is from understanding profiling as well as I do, because that's my life. I do it every day. I do it with everyone I meet. I'm observing all the time as to what I'm meant to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
With a relationship, when emotions are concerned, that can cause me problems at times, as it does for us all, because
the heart gets cut.
Yeah, and I don't want to hurt, and I at times maybe aren't as honest as I should be, because I know by me being honest is going to hurt really, really badly. And whether that person can come through that or not is another thing.
Correct.
So at times when there are things, I talk to myself all the time. I talk and say everything I want to say that I would not necessarily say to someone, because I know it would cut them to the quick. Because they're not ready to hear the truth. They're not ready to hear that they're idiots, and that's judgmental, and I do spend my life trying not to be judgmental. But get out of your own way. Get out of playing victim mode. Get out. Stop blaming the world for what's going on for you.
Yep, totally agree.
Because until you get out of that mindset, the world won't change.
Correct.
So, yeah, I suppose I learned very young, don't blame someone else. Because it doesn't work.
Look, you've probably described the whole personal development industry in everything that you've shared there, because it's what we learn in our early days is what is our end result of how we are and what we do in our adult life. And that is something people cannot always understand. So
they're not ready to, and we're all on our own journey of learning. Totally. And it's different for everyone. There's no right and there's no wrong.
Correct.
We all have to do it as we're ready. And as I say, you can lead a horse to water. If it's not their time to drink, they won't drink.
Yeah, there's that about
and it's not for us to try to get them to drink. And that has been a failing of mine at times in the past, trying to get them to drink when they weren't ready to drink, because I wanted for them so much to get the fullness of their life. But I realized that that's not my job, really. They've got to make it happen, because life is all about action.
And Jenny, I'll just take a little snippet from there and say, you and I have worked together. You have been strong in what you've said to me, and I have never looked at that. Don't grin now. I can see you grinning. Jenny had some very firm words to say to me about 5 years ago, and the bottom line is that was the best lesson I could have ever learned at that time. So I don't believe that nobody's ever ready for the lesson. It's whether they take it on board and do something with it. And I'm grateful for what you and I experienced at that point in time to be where I am today, shifted, tweaked, moving mountains, but then falling down again and then getting back up, dusting myself off and starting all over again. Best learning I could have ever got.
Good. Well, I'm pleased.
You've done well, Jennie Gorman.
Thank you.
I'll move on to our first question, Jenny. With everything that has happened in your life, what was your biggest wake-up call that you looked towards personal development as a way to improve your life? And what I'm really referring to here is actually the mindset towards this. Now, you've already had experience as the young. Can you share a bit of a story?
I was very blessed that I had a grandmother who was very, very wise. She's still with me. She guides my writing totally. I'm writing a book with her at the moment, actually. It's a 5-series with her. She's been dead many, many years. She died in 1984. But she was very clairvoyant. And in those days, nobody knew what a clairvoyant was. And she didn't know it. But she had this uncanny ability that was quite remarkable. If I could sit with anyone today, she would be the person I would want to sit with. As an adult, to have at my time of life, to have a conversation with her about life would be wonderful. And yes, she very big difference in my life, but it wasn't. I took it all for granted, everything, and didn't really understand it until my marriage broke up after Expo 88. We had 26 lots of visitors in 26 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And that was a closure of my marriage. It was then because emotionally and mentally, I was really in the gutter. Even though no one from a business perspective would have picked that. When he decided to go, and we're very close. It's 30 years ago, and we're best friends, very close. He's the one person I'd call for anything, and he'd be there. He's there like a shot still. So we're very close. But I took it really badly when he decided he wanted to be a single man again. So it was a very big wake-up call for me, and I had a new job to start 2 days after. And nobody at that job ever knew what was going on in my life, because I didn't do it with the job I was in. I learned probably my greatest skills that I use now at that time. But it was from that, as a result of that, within months, really, I started working in the personal development area, even though my ex-husband and I had been bringing people in and out of the country and working in that area. I started working from home, promoting people, and then I opened a personal development natural therapy centre. And that's where my learning and my consciousness of personal development and mindset change came in. A lot of the language we used in those days were language that nobody understood. We were seen as crazies. We were seen, we meditated, we used candles, we had incense, we played with crystals and did all those sorts of things.
That was all taboo back then.
We were seen as total crazies. I happened to also work for a bookshop they were the first alternative bookshop. So I did the admin ended up doing admin for 3 of their shops, Gold Coast and 2 in Brisbane. And I suppose that really got my journey going, because I had this thirst that was unquenchable. And that really started my journey and making me look at me. I got involved and studied numerology and started to really look at the sciences, the psychic sciences, and working out who I was, where I was at, who I could be. So I suppose in those days, back in the late 80s, early 90s, I was given the opportunity to really start questioning me and taking total responsibility for what was happening in my life.
And that's the journey, isn't it?
And we don't have to like it. We just have to do it.
Correct.
And do it to the best of our ability.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. Love it, Jenny. Love it. So who was one of the top leaders from the personal development fields that inspired you the most? And I know the one person that you've worked with beforehand, and I know it's still part of you because you often quote this person. Would you like to share some of that journey?
You're talking Jim Rohn, I gather.
I'm talking Jim Rohn.
I was fortunate to work around Jim for 4 years.
Lovely.
And every Wednesday I put one of his, and I've been doing this now. There was well over 100 articles I've got on Facebook in notes. So if you go to my Facebook page and put stroke notes, you'll see all
wow, Jim. Brilliant.
He inspired me because he was a man who was known as a philosopher of the 20th century.
Yeah.
He was a man who had enormous insight. There were a lot of our values were the same, I suppose. And he had the ability to teach personal development in business by using stories. And he used the Bible stories as a
metaphor,
a foundation.
Yep.
He built his stories around today using the stories. Yep. So if you listen to some of his stories, you knew which Bible story he was quoting, but it was put into today's context.
Yep. That's a very clever man doing that too.
It was incredible. And he was the most genuine, salt of the earth man. He was incredible. So I was talking about this the other day because my daughter actually worked at the same company with me for a period of time. And this was back in the 90s. And changed her life also. A lot of my work is based on business, but I have developed it further because the marketplace is different. But those basics don't change.
No, they don't. They're the core element, aren't they?
People go and reinvent the wheel. You can't go and find out what's out there and build on that, but don't reinvent the wheel. It's not necessary. So Jim was a really big influencer on me, but also Mandela and Gandhi were, from a courage perspective, from a resilience perspective. They were both men, nothing to do with where their beliefs or anything was, but they were men of great influence to people around them.
Yeah.
They moved millions, as Jim Rohn has, of course, too.
Yeah.
I really honour people who have that ability to do that. And you only get one or two in a lifetime. We don't see many that have that ability to change millions of lives. And because technology is where it is, that makes it easier too. There's really nobody who's there today, who's in the marketplace today, that really inspires me, because they don't come anywhere near these people.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I find them very uninspiring because they're regurgitating, but a lot of them, I don't believe they really even know what they're regurgitating.
Yeah, I get that.
It's all about making money. It's not...
For the wrong reasons too.
Yeah, they wouldn't... I don't believe most of them would do it if nobody paid them a cent.
Yeah, I get that. I was very little when I heard Martin Luther King. I have a dream. And I remember walking around the house saying, I have a dream. And I think my mother or father said, what's your dream? I don't know, what's a dream? But he has always inspired me from that perspective, from that era.
Yeah.
You know, and that's something that's lived within me, as I love listening to that voice, the tonality of it all. It really resonates with me, and thank you for bringing up some of that old colleagues, because it is inspiring, because they did know what they were talking about at that point in time.
And they believed.
Totally.
They believed, and those three people that I've mentioned believed. Totally. They trusted, they had courage. They didn't do any of it for themselves.
No, that's very, very true.
It was a belief, and it was it was their calling.
Correct.
See, people today don't realise that we all have a calling. You've got to find that. I work on that every day for me. I'm on purpose. My life is on purpose. I'm blessed. But most people don't even know what their calling is. And it's a bit like years ago, a nurse, a teacher, a nun, they were callings.
Correct.
People do those things now to survive.
Correct.
To give them an income. It's lost that, what's the word I can use?
Is it uniqueness?
Yeah, it's more than that.
Okay.
It's the inner depth of living their truth, of living their essence, of being what they're here on this earth plane to do.
Totally agree, Jenny. And yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. True. So when did you know that you recognised that you were on path, and you really felt the emotion that your life was going to change? You could really feel the difference and were inspired to want to do more.
Well, that happened when I had my centre back in the very early 90s.
Excellent.
Because I knew I was on track. I knew where I was going. I was learning as I was going. I had a lot of people around me. That was the time when I started working with people who were less fortunate, people who were addicts, drug addicts, alcoholics, people with great emotional need, mental health problems, but they weren't called that then.
Correct. Yep.
It was a very different, that's when I suppose I really spent a lot of time. I even had someone who was a heroin addict live with me for nearly a year and bring him through. He's not anymore. I'm sure, don't think he's anymore. But that's when I started to really learn about that and get an idea, but nothing like I understand it now.
Oh, well, that's part of the journey, isn't it? It's part of what great groundings you've had to be able to be where you are today, that all of that was part of your journey, foundations, you know, to share what you can share today. It's a wonderful journey, Jen.
Well, for me it was foreign because it's not where I came from. They weren't experiences I had. And I still have people from those days around me, which is really interesting because they bring it up all the time from where they were then. Some of them are still there, some have grown.
Yep.
There'll always be the fence sitters, it'll never change.
Correct.
So it's people have their journey and they've got to do it the best way they can.
True.
And
very true.
We're all human, so we all stuff up at times.
And we're allowed to. We shouldn't take that out on ourselves because that's part of the learning.
Well, some people find it very difficult to accept that someone is human and we stuff up. I'm not meant to stuff up to some people. Well, sorry, I'm doing the best I can with what I've got.
Correct.
I'm here to learn my lessons, whatever they are. Yeah. And they are different from anybody else's. Everybody has their own lessons to learn. Correct. And yes, I stuff up. And yes, I get hurt. And yes, I do things at times I think that wasn't a very good thing to do or a very good thing to say. So I think it's being honest with yourself because when it comes to it, when you go to bed at night, there's only you.
Correct.
You've got to meet yourself at some time.
Correct.
And if you can't meet yourself and acknowledge and reflect on where you are, where you've been, and forgive others and forgive yourself.
Correct.
If you can't do that, life is going to be harder.
Yep.
You're going to be caught as a victim. You're going to be caught in game, in the blame game.
Yep, gotcha. And so true. That word forgive, when we forgive ourselves for everything that has occurred in, around, for, about our life, something will change within.
That's right.
I totally agree. So, Jenny, when did you have any coincidences or little events that occurred in your life? You knew you were in alignment. Now, you've probably answered some of this in the previous.
Every day, Jan. Every day, and everything that happens, I think, oh, I know why I've got that. Oh, thank you. That's for me, not you. When I'm teaching, oh, this is for me just as much as for you.
Exactly.
Because the people are put in front of me that I need to learn from.
Yeah,
and because I teach personal development, when I get off this call, I'm going straight into a personal development coaching session. So I've written my own personal development programs, which of all the things I do, I get the most satisfaction out of doing.
Yeah. It's been part of you all your life, Jenny, because starting
watching
so young,
people grow, to me, I just want people to recognise and realise their dreams.
Yeah.
I want people to be as blessed and as lucky as I see I am.
Yeah, brilliant. Love it. Love it, Jenny.
If you've got that, life is
Well,
easy.
we don't always see what other people see in us because of our own personal blockages. And I say that with conviction because I know where I am right now. And most people are saying to me, you found your niche. I'm not sure this is my niche. I'm doing this as part of the stepping stone to a core element as far as I am concerned. But because it's been such a success, everybody's saying, oh, you found your niche, you found your niche, you found your niche. Well, it's part of my journey towards the core element as far as I'm concerned. Because to me, it might be I'm hearing all of these stories. I might need to refer to a story. No, it's a journey on itself when we accept where we are and what we're doing and who the people we're crossing our pathways and the lessons that they give us and share us and tell us, and maybe they kick us off the path because we need to be shown a different way. It's
right.
a wonderful world. It's a wonderful world. Darling, I'm just going to finalise with our last question, which is what led you to create, and I'm going to say your business pages, because I know you have many, but pick on the primary one, Jenny, because this is a time when you can promote yourself. This is where the win-win is.
Okay, well, because I have 41 social media sites and 5 websites.
That's why I said, you pick one, Jen.
I think probably for me, more than anything else, is my on purpose life. It's a website, N-A-N, on, purpose, P-U-R-P-O-S-E, life, life.com.au. It's where I do all my writings around being on purpose, living on purpose. When I write very much, I'm talking to you. That's the one thing people always say. It's as though you're there talking. I hear you. I said, good, that's what's important, because that's the way I write. I've been blessed with a lot of, over my life, I've been blessed with a lot of wonderful, wonderful opportunities to learn, and I've been around a long time. I've been around a long time. When I look at my kids,
Only a day over 21, Jen.
Well, I wouldn't want to go back there for anything.
That's okay. But yeah, you've been around a long time.
And when I look at my children and I think, my gosh, they're closer to 50 than 40, and I start to think there's not a lot of years left. And it's really important to me that what I've gained in this life, I can pass it on. And pass it on to my grandchildren more than anything. It's really important to me to be able to give my grandchildren the leg up with the learnings that I had.
Yeah. And what a blessing to be able to do that, Jen. I mean, in the form of books, in the form of stories, it is the most important part of life to be able to pass that on. Well done.
Well, I had it for me, so I want it for my children. Yeah. And it took me till I was in my early 60s to actually find, and it's a lot of the writings I'm doing and the series I'm doing, was to really get down to a book that my grandmother wrote in when I was in utero.
Wow.
And she wrote it for me, her first granddaughter.
Wow.
And she wrote her reason for writing in that book, and she's got a whole spree, which is I've put it out in the story, is out there. But she wanted me to see life in a certain way and have certain experiences and to understand life with wisdom. And it took me probably to my early 60s before I really, really understood her message.
Yeah, I get that.
And that was, yeah, now that's a very big part of my life, because it's what I write about and where I work from, that basis now.
What a blessing.
But yeah, it took a long time to get that.
But that's also, I think, a pathway of life, because of all the things that we learn through life. It's not until we get to that end of the mature end of life, if I could call it that, where synergies start to go pop and a little thing goes, wow, and you go, oh, so that's why that happened, because now I can do that. You've got a better understanding, it's a clearer clarity. And if you've been open to this journey along the way, yeah, you get some absolutely gold gems.
Yeah.
Gold gems that come through at this point in time in life. Jennie Gorman, it has been an absolute delight to have this conversation with you. I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing a little bit more of a snippet about you. And if anybody's interested to want to touch base with Jennie, please do so on her Facebook page. Would that be correct, Jen?
Facebook page, you can get me there. Yeah, I'm out there. Or Jennie Gorman, JNNIE, gorman.com.au, and that will take you straight through into one. And everything, I have everything linking in together.
Excellent.
So it depends whether people are wanting personal development or they're wanting business development. It depends on what they're wanting as to where they can go.
Jennie, that in itself speaks tenfold, because you are a very worldly, wise woman.
Well, hopefully when you get to my age, you are a little bit wiser than you were.
Exactly. It's been a delight chatting with you, so I thank you so very much, and we'll look forward to touching base again soon.
Thank you, Jan. I look forward to it, and there goes the thunder and the lightning for the
and we've got the rain.
I'm not ready to go yet. Give me another day or so. Let me have my cruise first.
God bless you.